Around the year 1500, as dawn broke over the mountains and river valleys of Japan, life was already stirring behind the heavy wooden gates of a samurai castle. Long before the sun reached the highest towers, guards had changed shifts, servants had begun sweeping stone paths, cooks had lit charcoal fires, and the castle's lord was preparing for another uncertain day. This was not yet the age of vast, gleaming castles that later became symbols of unified Japan. The country was entering one of the most turbulent periods in its history. Regional warlords struggled constantly for power, alliances shifted without warning, and battles could erupt with little notice. Every castle stood not only as a residence, but as a military headquarters, a government office, a warehouse, and a final refuge against attack. Behind its walls lived hundreds, and sometimes thousands, of people whose daily routines were organized around discipline, hierarchy, and survival. Their lives unfolded according to traditions that balanced military readiness with ceremony, practical labor with refined culture, and constant vigilance with moments of remarkable beauty. To understand life inside a samurai castle in 1500 is to step into a world where every building, every pathway, every meal, and every gesture reflected a society built upon honor, loyalty, and preparation for war. Castles of this era were often constructed on hills or mountains, taking advantage of the natural landscape. Steep slopes, thick forests, rivers, and cliffs became part of the defensive design. Instead of relying solely on massive stone walls, many early castles used earthworks, timber palisades, wooden watchtowers, and carefully arranged barriers that forced attackers into narrow approaches. Stone foundations were becoming more common, but many strongholds still depended heavily on wood. From a distance, these castles blended into the surrounding mountains, their dark roofs and wooden walls rising above the trees. They were practical structures first, and symbols of authority second. The castle was organized into a series of enclosed compounds, separated by gates, moats, embankments, and defensive walls. Each layer served a specific purpose. The outer sections contained workshops, storage buildings, stables, and barracks. Deeper within lay the residences of important retainers, administrative buildings, and meeting halls. At the center stood the Lord's residence, the safest and most heavily protected area of the complex. Every visitor moved through carefully controlled gates, each guarded by armed men who watched every arrival and departure. Security governed every aspect of castle life. The highest-ranking resident was the daimyo, the regional military lord who controlled the surrounding lands. His authority rested not only on his personal military skill, but also on his ability to command loyalty from dozens or even hundreds of samurai retainers. The castle served as the visible center of that authority. Local farmers paid taxes that filled the castle's granaries. Merchants supplied weapons, cloth, ceramics, and food. Artisans repaired armor, forged swords, and maintained buildings. Messengers arrived daily, carrying reports from distant villages, allied families, or rival clans. Every decision concerning justice, taxation, diplomacy, and military planning flowed through the castle. Yet despite this concentration of power, daily life remained surprisingly ordered. Long-established customs dictated how every individual behaved according to rank. Even the arrangement of rooms inside a residence reflected status. Those closest to the lord occupied the safest and most comfortable spaces, while servants and lower-ranking soldiers lived farther from the center. At sunrise, activity spread rapidly throughout the castle. Guards completed inspections of gates and walls, ensuring no damage had occurred overnight. Patrols checked surrounding roads and nearby villages for unusual movement. Castle officials reviewed reports delivered during the night. Stable workers cared for horses, brushing their coats and inspecting saddles. Blacksmiths reignited their furnaces. Kitchen servants fetched water from wells, while cooks prepared breakfast for hundreds of residents. Rice formed the foundation of nearly every meal. Depending on rank and local resources, it was accompanied by miso soup, pickled vegetables, grilled fish, beans, mountain herbs, or small portions of game. Fresh vegetables came from nearby fields or castle gardens, while dried foods filled storage rooms for times of siege. Food preservation was essential. Salted fish, dried seaweed, fermented soy products, and smoked meats ensured supplies could last through long periods when travel became dangerous. Large storehouses protected these provisions against moisture, insects, and fire. Castle administrators carefully measured incoming harvests and monitored consumption. A prolonged siege could quickly exhaust supplies if careful records were not maintained. The daimyo himself usually ate separately from most residents. His meals were prepared with greater care and presented according to strict ceremonial customs. Even so, luxury remained limited compared to later centuries. The uncertainty of war discouraged unnecessary extravagance. Wealth was often invested instead in weapons, horses, fortifications, and loyal retainers. Every resource could become essential if conflict erupted. The samurai who lived within the castle formed its military backbone. Contrary to later romantic images, they spent much of their time performing administrative duties rather than fighting. Many supervised villages, collected taxes, maintained records, trained soldiers, inspected supplies, and resolved disputes among local residents. Literacy was an important skill. A capable samurai needed not only to wield a sword, but also to read official documents, compose letters, and understand legal obligations. Education reflected the belief that military leadership required discipline of both mind and body. Training remained constant. Courtyards echoed with the sounds of wooden practice swords striking together. Archers practiced accuracy against straw targets. Spearmen drilled in coordinated formations designed for battlefield effectiveness. Mounted warriors exercised their horses whenever terrain allowed. Armor was inspected regularly for damaged laces, cracked plates, or weakened fittings. Weapons required continuous maintenance. Swordsmiths and armorers occupied respected positions because a poorly maintained weapon could mean death in battle. Young boys born into samurai families began training from an early age. They learned etiquette before weapons, understanding that respect for hierarchy formed the foundation of military discipline. They practiced calligraphy alongside martial exercises. Elders instructed them in family history, clan traditions, and expectations of loyalty. Physical courage alone was considered insufficient without moral self-control. Girls raised within samurai households also received education suited to their responsibilities. Noble women learned reading, writing, household management, religious practices, and proper ceremonial behavior. Many also trained in self-defense, especially with the naginata, a pole weapon whose long blade could defend narrow corridors and gates during emergencies. Women were expected to maintain household order when men departed for campaigns. They supervised servants, managed supplies, educated children, and ensured family traditions continued. During sieges, these responsibilities expanded dramatically. Every capable adult contributed to the castle's defense in some way. The castle's servants represented a wide variety of occupations. Some cleaned living quarters, polished wooden floors, and maintained gardens. Others prepared food, carried water, laundered clothing, repaired roofs, or transported firewood. Many had served the same family for generations. Though occupying lower social positions, experienced servants possessed specialized knowledge essential to the castle's operation. Their daily work allowed the samurai elite to focus on military and administrative responsibilities. Craftsmen living within or near the castle formed another indispensable group. Blacksmiths forged spearheads, arrowheads, knives, and tools. Carpenters repaired damaged gates, rebuilt towers, strengthened walls, and constructed new buildings whenever needed. Armor makers stitched together thousands of lacquered plates with silk cords. Bow makers selected carefully aged wood and bamboo to create powerful weapons capable of remarkable accuracy. Potters produced bowls, storage jars, and cooking vessels. Every trade supported the castle's independence during prolonged conflict. Religious life quietly shaped the rhythm of each day. Small shrines and Buddhist temples often stood within or just outside the castle grounds. Residents offered prayers for protection, victory, health, and prosperous harvests. Monks sometimes served as advisors, teachers, or scribes. Religious festivals marked seasonal changes, reinforcing community identity despite political instability. Belief in ancestral spirits encouraged respect for family lineage and remembrance of those who had died serving the clan. Ceremony influenced nearly every interaction. Formal greetings, respectful language, seating arrangements, and methods of presenting gifts all followed established customs. During official meetings, participants entered rooms according to rank. Shoes were removed before stepping onto polished wooden floors covered with tatami mats. Scrolls displaying poetry, religious texts, or landscape paintings decorated reception rooms, demonstrating both refinement and education. The tea ceremony was gradually becoming an important expression of discipline, simplicity, and controlled elegance among the warrior class. Even during troubled times, moments of quiet reflection remained valuable. Architecture reflected practical needs as much as aesthetic values. Buildings relied heavily on timber frames joined without nails through sophisticated carpentry techniques. Sliding paper screens allowed rooms to be reconfigured according to occasion. Verandas overlooked carefully maintained gardens where rocks, moss, trees, and ponds created scenes inspired by nature. These peaceful spaces contrasted sharply with the military purpose surrounding them. Beauty and discipline were not viewed as opposites but as complementary qualities that strengthened character. Fire presented one of the greatest dangers inside any castle. Nearly every structure was built primarily from wood. Open flames heated rooms, cooked food, and provided light after sunset. Strict rules governed the handling of fire. Water buckets remained ready throughout the complex. Night patrols watched not only for intruders but also for accidental blazes. A single uncontrolled fire could destroy years of construction within hours and leave the castle vulnerable to attack. Water management received equal attention. Wells supplied drinking water, while reservoirs collected rain for emergencies. Engineers designed drainage channels that prevented flooding during heavy rains, while ensuring sufficient water remained available during sieges. Some castles incorporated hidden wells within their innermost compounds, specifically to guarantee survival if outer sections fell to attackers. Outside the central residence, barracks housed numerous foot soldiers known as ashigaru. These men increasingly formed the largest component of Japanese armies during this era. Unlike hereditary samurai, many came from farming backgrounds and served under local lords in exchange for payment or land privileges. Their equipment varied greatly depending on wealth and circumstance. Some possessed armor and quality weapons, while others relied on simpler gear. They trained regularly within the castle grounds, learning coordinated formations essential for battlefield success. Stable areas housed valuable horses used by high-ranking warriors. Horses required constant feeding, grooming, and veterinary care. Mounted messengers could deliver urgent communications across great distances far faster than travelers on foot. During military campaigns, maintaining healthy horses often determined the speed and effectiveness of an army's movements. Falcons, hunting dogs, and other animals were also sometimes kept by noble households, reflecting both practical uses and social prestige. Children growing up inside the castle experienced a structured upbringing shaped by constant awareness of status and duty. Play existed alongside education. Young boys practiced mock battles with wooden weapons, while girls learned music, embroidery, and household skills. Seasonal festivals brought opportunities for games, storytelling, music, and shared meals. Yet every child understood that adulthood carried serious responsibilities toward family and lord. Their future roles were defined from birth by the social order surrounding them. Communication inside the castle relied upon disciplined organization. Messengers carried written orders between compounds. Drums, bells, and conch shells signaled emergencies, gatherings, or changes in guard shifts. Watchtowers overlooked roads leading toward the castle, allowing approaching travelers to be identified long before reaching the gates. During times of heightened danger, signal fires on surrounding hills transmitted warnings across neighboring territories. Intelligence gathering formed an essential part of castle administration. Scouts monitored rival clans, reported troop movements, and observed political developments. Merchants traveling between provinces often carried valuable information alongside their goods. Diplomacy frequently prevented wars that military strength alone could not. Marriages between noble families reinforced alliances, while carefully exchanged gifts demonstrated respect or sought reconciliation after disputes. Inside council chambers, experienced advisors debated strategy based on incomplete and often uncertain information. Seasonal changes shaped castle life profoundly. Spring brought cherry blossoms that briefly transformed courtyards into landscapes of pale pink, reminding residents of beauty's fleeting nature. Farmers delivered fresh produce as planting began across surrounding villages. Summer required careful management of food storage as heat threatened supplies. Autumn filled granaries with harvested rice and prepared the castle for possible winter campaigns. Winter slowed travel, increased reliance on stored provisions, and required constant maintenance of roofs and wooden structures against snow and moisture. Clothing reflected both practicality and status. Samurai typically wore layered robes beneath armor when preparing for military duties. During ordinary activities, they dressed in simpler garments suited to administration or training. High-ranking individuals displayed fine silk fabrics, while servants and soldiers relied more often on hemp or cotton. Colors, family crests, and patterns identified clan affiliation and social position. Armor itself represented extraordinary craftsmanship, combining lacquered leather, iron plates, silk cords, and decorative elements that balanced protection with mobility. Personal hygiene remained important despite limited technology. Public and private bathing formed part of regular life, valued for cleanliness, health, and relaxation. Wooden tubs heated with carefully managed fires allowed residents to wash away dirt after training or labor. Water conservation remained necessary, but bathing was regarded as both practical and culturally significant. Medical knowledge combined herbal remedies, religious practices, and traditional healing methods. Physicians attached to noble households treated wounds, illnesses, and injuries using available techniques passed through generations. Herbal gardens within castle grounds supplied medicinal plants. Serious battlefield injuries often proved fatal, despite the best efforts of experienced healers. Disease posed an equally dangerous threat during crowded sieges, making sanitation and food management essential responsibilities for administrators. Entertainment within the castle emphasized refinement rather than extravagance. Music performed on flutes, drums, and stringed instruments accompanied seasonal celebrations. Poetry competitions encouraged literary skill. Storytellers preserved family histories and legendary battles, reinforcing loyalty to the clan. Hunting expeditions, when security permitted, provided both recreation and military practice. Falconry remained a respected activity among elite warriors. The arrival of important guests transformed the atmosphere of the castle. Preparations began well in advance. Floors were polished, banners displayed, gardens carefully maintained, and kitchens expanded their efforts. Reception ceremonies followed strict protocols designed to communicate respect while quietly demonstrating the host lord's wealth, discipline, and organizational ability. Every servant understood their assigned role. Every movement reflected careful planning. Even amid political uncertainty, hospitality remained an essential diplomatic tool. Behind this outward order, however, lay the ever-present possibility of war. Castle life could change completely within hours if scouts reported approaching enemies